Okay. So I'm going to just start because I'm an Ohio State guy. And we all know the outcome with Michigan. The Ohio State, 10-1 going into the Michigan game. Michigan was 6-5. They are the defending national champions, but we know they lost a whole lot of players on their roster. They lost most of their coaching staff. They come into Columbus and they're 20-point underdogs to Ohio State. I think Ohio State was like number 3 in the country or something like that at the time. And Ohio State just lays an egg. It was 10-10 at halftime. Ohio State doesn't score the rest of the game. Michigan wins 13-10. And, of course, just because I'm mad doesn't mean I stop caring. The Buckeyes really pissed me off. And it wasn't the players. And as well as BJ does in the back, that I've been a Ryan Day defender from day one. I think Ryan Day is an excellent coach. However, I'm starting to get in the mindset of, is he the guy to lead the Buckeyes long term? Because if he can't get over the mental block that is Michigan, you're just not the right coach for Ohio State. Ohio State usually has 3 goals every year, and they're in this order: 1, to beat Michigan; 2, to compete for a Big Ten championship; and 3, to compete then for a national championship. And usually that goal all starts with beating Michigan. Now, in the former 4-team playoff, it solely relied on beating Michigan. Now that there's 12 teams that make it, you can lose and get in. This is a perfect year. But Ohio State has put itself in a tough spot now. If they would have beaten Michigan, I think at worst they would have been the 5 seed in the playoff, because you beat Michigan, you go in, you're 11-1, you play Oregon, and whether you win or lose that game, you're going to be the Big Ten rep. So Oregon, if they lose, they'd be number 5. If they won, they'd be number 1, and vice versa with Ohio State. Ohio State now drops to the 8th seed. So they have put themselves in a position, in like a little bit of a David Goliath position. If they want to win the national championship, they are most likely going to have to beat Tennessee at home, an SEC team that's pretty good. They would have to go and then play the number 1 team in the country, Oregon, in the Rose Bowl, and beat them. Then most likely they would have to probably go play Texas in Dallas and go beat them in the Cotton Bowl. And then most likely they would have to go and beat Georgia in Atlanta to win the national championship. So they have set themselves up with a very daunting path. Now, I know you and BJ talked about this. I was not around for this, but and I heard some of the segment, but I didn't hear the whole thing. Now, I might ask you to like refresh a little bit of what you guys talked about, but Ohio State to me is sort of now at a fork in the road. So Ohio State can go in one of 2 directions. One, you can keep Ryan Day. Ohio State is going to be a great program regardless of if Ryan Day is the head coach, or you fire him, you bring somebody else in. Now, I don't know if the outcome of now the new Ohio State athletic director has come out and said, I'm confident Ryan Day is our head coach next year. Now, that's all well and good to say, but if they lose on Saturday, December 21st against Tennessee at home, and they've lost then to Michigan and Tennessee, I don't know how you could bring Ryan Day back. So I don't know if he's got to go win a national title, win 2 games in the college football playoff, what it might be. So my question to you, and you can whatever, what does Ryan Day have to do to save his job?
All right. So I'm sitting in front of Ryan Day. I'm the director of athletics. And I say, listen, you have a talent-studded team.
Yes.
And it plays as an anemic offense and an anemic defense. You have 4 games to show us that you can bring this team to life.
Sure.
Or else we've got to find somebody who can do that. It's not a lack of talent, and it's not a lack of coaching. It's the connection between those two that he's definitely missing, and he's got to go.
So you're out.
If these last games that he plays, he's able to bring this team to life, that saves them.
So they're in a one and done situation now. So it's win or go home. So
there's your interview right there.
Okay. So yeah, your interview is your performance on the field.
Exactly.
Okay. So now let me push back and say, let's say he beats Tennessee at home and loses a close game to Oregon. Is he still around?
It really is not a win-loss thing by this point. Whether or not you can put those playmakers in positions to be able to show what they've got. Yes. That's your responsibility to your players.
Yeah.
If you've got talent like that and you abuse the shit out of it and look like a mediocre team with all of that talent, you're not the right coach.
I actually thought he coached a hell of a game at Oregon this year. Now,
I agree with that.
You know, and they ended up coming up short in that game, you know, a bad pass interference call, you know, a couple defensive breakdowns in the secondary. Otherwise, they probably win that game. But the Michigan game, they were strictly outcoached, especially on offense versus Michigan's defense. Michigan's defense, me, you, a homeless guy out on the street could have told you, what's Michigan's best defense? Their defensive line. Yep. What should the Buckeyes do? Take advantage of Michigan's wounded secondary.
Yes.
Use your playmakers. You have probably the best wide receiver in the entire country in Jeremiah Smith. You have Emeka Egbuka, who's going to be a first or second round draft pick. You got Carnell Tate, who's a 5-star wide receiver that's emerging and going to be an NFL player.
One of the attorneys just walked by with a Michigan hat, by the way.
Did he?
He did. Big Michigan hat.
Piece of shit.
That was so fitting. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, but it's Ohio State had all they had to do was just go out and win the game. Now they missed 2 field goals. Michigan, and where I will push back on Ohio State's defense, played really great in that game. They played really great. They held Michigan to 13 points, and 10 of those points came on, like, I think they had like a total of 5 or 6 yards because Ohio State turned it over. You know, so Michigan didn't have to do anything. Ohio State gave them a turnover, I think, inside the 4. And then Michigan kicked a long field goal for 10 of their points. And then, you know, their other 3 points were right at the end of the game. So Ohio State's defense did enough to win that game. Ohio State's offense, however, they scored 10 points in the first half, which if you scored 10 points in the first half, 10 points in the second half, I can live with that. 20-10 victory or 20-13 victory, whatever. But you didn't do enough to win. For Ohio State not to score in the second half is an absolute embarrassment, and it's an indictment on the coaching staff. And for me, that is an absolute point the finger at Ryan Day, point the finger at Chip Kelly, both former NFL coaches who should know how to take advantage of a defense that, you know, frankly, is good, but your offense is better. So it's not the players. I don't think it's the heart. I don't think it's the willingness to win. I think it's a mental edge, and I think it's a little bit of you know, scheme. And it's like sometimes I feel like Ohio State just puts the ball out there and says, "We're the more talented team. We're just going to win," and other teams out scheme them. Now it's like you're paying these coaches millions of dollars. You have some of the best talent now. Why can these teams that aren't necessarily as talented as you compete? Because they're scheming it up. They're playing the game, and Ohio State just is getting out coached in some of these big games, frankly. Yeah. So,
well, they play like a spoiled team that's used to winning, where they try less hard to outmaneuver the opponent, and it's a more mental game than it is what's talent on the field. So it's not personal against Ryan Day. I think the coaching and talent on the field has everything that they need to be able to win. There's not a missing element, but it's just being able to take advantage of what you have. And I think they're just mentally lazy about that.
Yeah. And so for me, there's only 2 outcomes that can come out of this game, and it's great or it's going to be piss poor. So they could come out and like they did in 2022. They lost to Michigan. They go out and they play Georgia, and they played with their hair on fire. They played against a Georgia team that ended up winning the national title. I think they beat They won the national championship game by like 60 points. Ohio State had the lead versus them by 14 in the fourth quarter, and Georgia ended up coming back and winning that game. Ohio State missed a field goal to win the game at the end of the game, but Ohio State did everything it could to win that game. And Marvin Harrison Jr. got knocked out, and a few other things happened that went Georgia's way. It didn't go Ohio State's way. But if Ryan Day and Ohio State played that game against what was an absolute juggernaut of a Georgia team, they could beat any team on the field. This team is not as good as that team, I think, because CJ Stroud is not your quarterback. But this team, comparable from player one to whatever, might just be as good talent-wise up and down the roster. So if Ohio State comes out and does everything it should to win, they should be able to beat Tennessee. And frankly, they should be able to beat any team in this college football playoff. They are just as good, if not better, than every single team in this thing. But it's like, what Ohio State team are we going to get? The Jekyll or the Hyde? So they got to win 4 to win it, but it starts with 1, and you got that game at home, and you are I believe they're a 7-point favorite. So I don't know. It's like, is Ryan Day going to just let it fly, or is he going to say, or is he in this pressure cooker knowing, hey, I could get fired, I could lose my job? I don't know. I don't know what the answer is.
He doesn't feel like he's going to be the emotional coach that he needs to be to really inspire those players and to get everybody on the same page. I will be satisfied if we get a rematch with Oregon and we take that game.
Okay.
Whether or not we get national championship, I don't care. If we get that game again, my season's over.
I honestly think if Ohio State beats Tennessee, I saw like FanDuel already has a line out. If Ohio State and Oregon hypothetically play, and it's either going to be Oregon and Ohio State or Oregon and Tennessee, Ohio State would be a 1.5-point underdog right now. That's pretty good.
Heck
I mean, it's a coin. That's a coin flip.
Great game.
It would be a great game in the Rose Bowl. Best setting in college football. So I hope we get that game, but you have to take care of business against Tennessee
for sure.
And this is an SEC team, a Southern team coming up north. It's gonna. I don't know what the weather's gonna be like, but it's gonna be cold, and it's not gonna be pretty. But it's a night game in the shoe versus an SEC team. You got to take care of business. So Ryan Day, the Buckeyes have it all in front of them. The Michigan, you can get that bad taste a little bit out of your mouth with a win over Tennessee. So
it's embarrassing, man. It was really embarrassing.
Ohio State then will. They're trying to go for a scarlet out Saturday, December 21st, 2024, 8 p.m. And that will be on ABC. So that's probably going to be a Kirk Herbstreit game, which they have not had him do a game in a while. Now, I came up with just 4 keys to victory. They're as simple as it gets.
Okay.
Literally any football fan, any 8-year-old could come up with these.
If I was coaching 9th grade football, this is my strategy.
I mean, and this would be a great strategy for any team. So here's my 4 keys to victory. So you can see Ohio State 7.5-point favorite, 46.5 point is the over-under. But here are my keys to victory. Number 1, get your playmakers the ball in space. You have Jeremiah Smith, Emeka Egbuka, Travion Henderson, Quinshon Judkins, Carnell Tate. The list goes on and on. Get them the ball in space. Spread out Tennessee. Throw the ball. And I say you throw the ball to run the ball. So then you set up the run by throwing, in my opinion. That's number 1. Number 2, don't turn the ball over. If Ohio State does not turn the ball over, they would win every single game this season. No problem. Or at least win the turnover margin. So, if you give up 1 turnover, you better get 2, or at least you better be even at the end of the day. But if Ohio State is even in the turnover margin, they will not lose this game. Number 3, force the Volunteers to go on long drives. Just limit their big plays. Ohio State's defense has done that for the most part this year. I trust in Jim Knowles. I really think he's done a good job. And then number 4, this one's more for the coaches, but it goes right back to that first emphasis I put on. Don't F it up for the coaches. Jim Knowles, the defensive coordinator, will be ready. Will Ryan Day and Chip Kelly give their offensive weapons a chance to succeed? We don't need 10 runs straight up the middle. Tennessee's defensive line is their strength of their team. They are a very good defensive line team, but they are more of a defensive line like Penn State. They have pretty good edge rushers, and they have a pretty solid defensive tackle group, but they are not the juggernaut top 5 picks at defensive tackle like Michigan has. So their strength is their defensive edges. They do have a really good cornerback as well, but Tennessee is a little bit like Michigan in the sense that they have a better offense, but their defense isn't quite as good. But Ohio State can beat this team, and those are my 4 keys to victory. Do you see any issues with those 4
No,
points?
JV football coach Joe is in, and this is what I'm telling my players.
Yeah.
Right? All right, you got 2 seconds in the pocket. I want you to dump off to your tight ends and do really short zone drops, right?
Yeah.
And eat them up, and then set up the run.
Yeah.
That's it. Easy.
And they have a guy. They have a guy on the defensive end. Let me see what I have his name here. He is his name is James Pierce. He's number 27. He's a very good player. He's probably going to be a top 6 or 7 pick in the NFL draft. However, he is not this Miles, he's a very good player, but he's that's where you said, like, tight ends over the middle or running back screens out of the, Chip Kelly and Ryan Day have forgot way more football than most of us will ever know. However, will they use that knowledge and put their players in the best chance to
JV
succeed?
Joe here is giving them advice.
That's a great name for a podcast, JV Joe.
JV Joe.
I like that. That's good.
And both of them would be rolling their eyes to take advice from the guy who's just looking from the outside in.
But you could have given Ohio State the game plan to beat Michigan 2 weeks ago. Throw the ball to your best weapons. Don't let Michigan was playing without their top cornerback, who's going to be a top 10 pick in the NFL draft. Don't let Michigan's defensive line wreak havoc on you.
So you shouldn't run up the middle 9 times in a row?
No, that's probably not a great strategy.
Not a great strategy.
A team with one of the best defensive lines.
So run against their weaknesses, not their strength.
Exactly. And Michigan, we knew, was not a great team. However, we knew their defensive line, all of them are going to play in the NFL. Like 2 of them are probably going to be first-round draft picks. One of them will be a top 5 pick. But it's like, don't run right up at their middle at their strength. Throw the ball, get the ball to your weapons, and go from there. Jeremiah Smith, if he stays healthy, will be a top 5 pick in the NFL draft in 2 years from now. Get him the ball. Emeka Egbuka, going to be a first-round, at worst, second-round pick. Get him the ball. Carnell Tate, going to be a top 3 NFL draft pick, in top 3 round draft pick. Get him the ball. Travion Henderson, Quinshon Judkins, they're going to be NFL running backs. Get them the ball in space. Don't run right up the middle. Get your athletes in space, whether it's zone blocking, whether it's screens on the outside, whether it's, stretching the field vertically. I don't know what it is, but I can tell you,
just don't do
that. I can give you the basics, and then you drop the plays from there. So I don't know what it is. So, all right. A lighter note. Ohio State will go with all scarlet uniforms, which is kind of cool. They've worn these before, but I did see this. And hypothetically, if a dog wore pants, would they wear them, on their front legs and their back legs, or would they just wear them around their waist?
Back legs.
Just their back legs. Okay.
Look what we got here.
Wait. I think I missed it.
2 Michigan fans razzed you.
Okay.
And put it in your face.
Can I say something about the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry real quick before we move on from that? Because Michigan earned that victory. Ohio State blew that game, but Michigan earned that victory. I will say Michigan earned the victory in 2023. They earned the victory in 2024. I will even give them victory in 2021 because Ohio State are really bad defense. 2022 is the game that still irks me because I think Michigan had a lot of Ohio State signs. I think that game was stolen from Ohio State. 2022. Now, what I will say about the rivalry is hate is a strong word. Like I don't hate people. You know, I don't. There's a lot.
You don't
of people,
have it in you.
There's a lot.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of people I don't like. I will say that. There's a lot of people I don't like. I would. I've seen people wear T-shirts. The more people I meet, the less people I like, kind of thing. I can be on board with that. Hate is a very strong word, though. I don't hate Michigan fans. Now, there's some people that piss me off, annoy me, whatever. That's one thing. There's some Ohio State fans I can't stand too. You know, it's people are people. People are gonna people. You know what I'm saying? But I heard a former Ohio State player that played for Jim Tressel, LaCharles Bentley. He put it perfectly. He said the rivalry, especially when Tressel was there, it wasn't about hating Michigan. It was about loving being a Buckeye. And I think this version of Ohio State hates Michigan more than they love being a Buckeye. And I think we need to get back to that. And that's where when you have coaches from Ohio that understand the rivalry, that lived it, that grew up here. Now, Ryan Day has been in this rivalry now for 7-8 years. But when you think of Urban Meyer, Jim Tressel, Woody Hayes, you know, other coaches, Earl Bruce, like other guys that have been in this, even Bo Schembechler, you know, people like that, they have lived it. So they lived it growing up. So they understand that rivalry, you know, when they're in it. But again, I thought that point LaCharles Bentley made of it's more important to love being a Buckeye than hating that team up north. So now you can do a little bit of both and that's fine, but you got to take care of your business. And if you love being a Buckeye and you do your job and your coaches put you in the best position to succeed, you will succeed more than you will fail. So to me, I thought that point was excellent. I loved it. And so what say you to that? What's more important, hating your rivalry or hating your rival or loving the team you're on and then going out and beating that rival?
So I'm the opposite of you. Everybody's in the hatred corral and only few get to come out to the I like you well enough.
So you know, I'm in the non-hate category.
You are.
Yeah,
that's good. You have progressed outside of the hate corral. And
so when you first met me, did you hate me?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. But by default, if I don't know you, I hate you.
Okay, that's fair.
And you're the opposite, where you got the I love you corral, and you have to earn the hatred.
Yeah. That's how I generally feel about most people. I give everybody the benefit of the doubt. I give them a chance. And then there's certain people that are like, all right, we're done with you, you know, like, and there's a lot, I believe there's a lot more innately good people in the world than bad.
And I believe
you're the
more
opposite.
Innately bad people than good.
Yeah.
So it's basically a filter, right? And if I capture a larger majority of bad people accurately measured versus you, where in your sample, if you meet 100 people, how many of those 100 people are actually as good as you gave them going in?
Yeah, that's a great point. Probably, you know,
join me on the cynic side.
I need to be more cynical, and maybe you need to be more
maybe there's a balance.
Yeah, maybe we could balance each other out.
Okay.
You know that what they say, opposites help each other out. So we go from there. Okay.
Everybody's a dirtbag and everybody's awesome.
I don't think everybody's awesome. I'm far from that.
Well, I'm definitely on everybody's a dirtbag.
Okay. All right.
It's a safe play.
Fair enough.
It's a safe
play. No, that's good. I like it. All right. Yeah. Point, counterpoint, pro, con. Okay.